My name is Ashley Scott, and I'm the Associate Provost with Coach Training EDU. I am so excited to be here with you today, especially with Tomer. Tomer is brilliant and amazing, and I'm so excited for you to um, to join you in learning from him today. So Tomer graduated from our program a couple years back, and he also is a Coach Training EDU trainer. So he's awesome and special, and I'm so excited to be here today. The content that is being covered today is Tomer's creation. So if you have any questions about the material after the workshop, he's going to be the best person to go to. This is not CTEDU content, but we're so excited to learn from Tomer today and for him to be able to bring that to you. So if you want to follow up with him, work with him after that, this class, anything like that, Tomer will share his contact information near the end of this workshop so that you can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and give Tomer the stage now. Thank you so much, Tomer, for just sharing your wisdom and knowledge with us today.
Thank you, Ashley. What a beautiful introduction. I appreciate it. Well, good morning to everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I'm really excited. I see some familiar faces, both from classes I've covered or classes I've taught, or even people who went to the original course with me. So this is really exciting for me. But today, I really want to kind of just spend some time with you all after I have taught with the program for a while, but as an individual, my kind of main profession, I work as what I call a business mentor, which means that I work with any kind of freelancer or any small business owner to help them develop their business and grow from an idea to an actual viable business that sustains itself. Sustains itself is going to be a key term that we're going to talk about soon. And I also work with artists. My background comes in theater and art and writing and creative, as well as branding and marketing and all the businessy stuff. And so I work with artists to help them develop their craft, something I call the creative development. So those are kind of the two fields with which I work. Today, I really want to focus on what I've noticed a lot, which is who are the type of people who are running their own businesses and what qualities do they kind of to show up in order for that business to succeed. Because I find that throughout my years with working with people, it's not necessarily the people who are the most talented, the most gifted, the most brightest at what they do that tend to succeed with their business. And I find that that is concerning, especially when it comes to coaching or any kind of one-on-one kind of development work that we do. And so my goal and my passion is to help those with those skills, with that beautiful ability to do and to help others to actually be able to then sustain a business as well and to not kind of fall back because of that. And so that's really what I want to focus about today is really the idea of how do we take our passion, what we believe in, what we're good at, and we turn it into a profession, what we're actually doing to sustain ourselves and our families or whoever it is that we help. And so when looking at something like that, there's a couple of different elements. Today, I want to break it to two elements. I want to break it to the self, meaning us, and the business. Okay. But before I do that, I just want to open up by saying the way I like to handle things is almost like a family dinner. So I want you to feel free to unmute whenever you have a question and to kind of talk over me or to raise your hand if you need. But if I'm not noticing you or if something, just go ahead and just like bombard. Trust me, if it gets too messy, I'll handle it. But I really want to invite you to participate or ask questions or to, just even share your thoughts about what I'm saying as we go along. And if it gets too much, I'll find a way to politely say, okay, that's fine. Okay. But having said all that, let's jump into the content because I have a lot that I want to go through with everybody today. And I'm going to leave some time at the end for us to have conversations and for us to talk and also tell us all we connect later on. So when we go into starting a business, what are the main things that I find that people do not ask themselves is, why am I starting this business? Why am I getting into this profession? And for the most part, I find when people start answering this question, their responses are not necessarily connected to the day-to-day job. We have an idea, we have a thought, we have a belief. Sometimes it's based on another we've actually seen this, we've participated, we've been coached, we've worked with other people, we know what this business looks like and we feel ready for it. right? But sometimes we have this idea, this movie-like script in our head. I had a client once who wanted to open a bakery because she saw a Meryl Streep movie, and it's just like, okay, I don't think it's going to be the same. And so the question is, what is our passion, right? What is that thing that we imagine in our head when we said, I want to do this thing? And when we go into doing this thing, for the sake of our conversation today, I'm going to say coaching, because I'm going to assume that all of us are maybe trying to launch or launching or participating in some sort of career that involves coaching, but you can insert whatever career you're kind of looking at for your own sake. But when we're looking at, why do I want to become a coach? Why do I want to start my own coaching business? A big question that I want to ask myself is, what am I passionate about? What part of coaching am I passionate about? For a lot of people, I always ask them, do we want to build a house or do we want to rent a room? Right? Do I want to really start my own infrastructure that I'm going to create? I'm going to find a way to find my own clientele. I'm going to, rent my own office. I'm going to hire my own accountant. I'm going to do all those things on my own. Or do I really just want to engage with clients one-on-one? And can I find another company or another organization through which I can do that? And so really thinking about, do I want to spend all this time to build a huge house when really all I want is a room? Now, it sounds like I'm trying to convince you to just rent a room. Not necessarily so. But just think about it and really think about, why am I choosing this and not that? I'll give you an example. A client of mine, very passionate about dogs, loves dogs, spends all of her times with animals, rescues them. I don't go visit her house because it's all full of dogs. Okay. But she decided she wants to start her own dog treat business. Very passionate about it. She created the brand, she created the marketing strategy for it. She found the recipes, she got all the you get like all these different authorities to like go through the ingredients and to make sure that it's okay, all those different things. She got through all of that paperwork, and then she found herself miserable. And the reason why, when we actually broke down, what is she miserable about? Because when she's actually passionate about dogs, most of her day was spent in a kitchen baking dog treats alone, mixing ingredients, putting them in the oven, having to listen to music alone, selling them to other people. Again, not to the dogs themselves, because dogs cannot buy their own dog treats. So when we looked at that and we were like, okay, we are passionate about dogs. When we actually broke down, what is she actually passionate about? What is that process, that element about dogs that she's passionate about? We broke it down to the idea that she's actually passionate about spending playful times with animals, engaging her and the animal, getting through to the animal. That was her passion. And she will do a lot of things in order to get to that space. And when we realized that, we actually then shifted and redesigned the business according to that realization. Changing at the beginning, we changed the business to make it so to create events where she gets to engage with dogs, to create different type of marketing strategies. But at the end, she even realized she doesn't want to make dog treats. She just wants to become a dog trainer. And she went and got her training to become a dog trainer. More than that, we designed the type of dog training that she wants to do to be a trainer for dogs when the clients leave the home. Meaning she didn't want to engage with the customer. She wanted to engage with the dog. So we designed the type of coaching she does to align with her passion. And there we saw a shift. We saw a change. We saw a development into how much she wanted to spend time into what she's doing. And so when we're thinking about our own business, what we actually want to do, think about, what does your actual day look like? What is it structured around? Because if we're going to be a freelancer, it means we're going to spend a lot of time trying to get clients. And that is its own undertaking. It's like, I live in New York City. So many people want to be actors, but 99% of the job of an actor is auditioning. But if somebody tells me, I hate auditioning, I just love performing, I'm going to say, maybe you don't like being a professional actor, because that is 99% of being a professional actor. And so when we look at being a freelancer, we want to think about what does it actually look like and how can I design it? Now, the thing about that is for most of us, and I don't know all of you, but for most of us, I'm going to assume that this might be, or one of the first, if not the first times, where we're actually actively designing and structuring our own life. Most of us have had other people or have had to structure our own life around other people's needs, around school and job and bosses and family and children and partners and what parents. And so when we're actually sitting down to design our own career, it is important to understand that we have the power now. The problem is, because this is our first time, or one of the first times that we're structuring our own lives and our own business, is because it's our first time, we're usually not good at it. We're not good at doing things we haven't done before. Okay. And so we have to kind of learn, how do I want to structure my own life? And so before I design a business, before I dive into the marketing and the branding and the website and all those lovely things that you can either pay for or spend hours doing yourself, I want to ask myself, what do I want my week to look like? What do I want my day to look like? And I challenge my clients to add numbers, specific numbers to it. What do I want to make in a year? And I sit with them and we take what they want to make in a year and we break it down. So that means X amount a month. And that means X amount a week. And then we look at, okay, so how many hours, how many days a week do we want to work? How many hours a day do we want to work? And then we actually break it down to what is our goal to get to? What is our hourly value that we want to achieve? What's our goal? Monetary goal, hourly. And it's important to do that when we're going to do such a job as a freelancer or a coach, where we're actually making it on our hours. It's not like I'm going to write a book and it's going to make money forever, even when I'm in Tahiti. Okay. And so the idea is to really kind of break it down to think about what is the actual tangible goal. Those of us who have studied at Coach Training EDU are familiar with hope theory, right? We want to get an idea of what our goal is, but we want to have a deep understanding of what the steps to get there are. And then we want to look at, like, do we believe in our ability to achieve those steps, right? So this really helps us break it down to steps and gives us some sort of guideline. Now, when we create such a goal, I have the two different types of clients, right? The people who tell you, okay, I want to make $1 million for working 2 hours a week. And then you have people who are like, well, I think I could, maybe $50 an hour so I can work 9. I think I can work, maybe I can work every other weekend as well. And, so there's like those two perspectives that kind of come up, right? And so somewhere in the middle is where we normally end up, is because we want to have aspiration, but we want to also be within the realms of reality. So I want to look at, like, again, that's when I look at what are other people in my business, in my area making. Okay. Just so Yelp has a really good way of, you can actually look at, like, what are other people hiring, or what are the general costs of things in your area through Yelp. It's very easy to do. And it kind of just tells you, like, okay, it literally on a map, it will tell you in New York City, it tells you uptown, this is how much people pay for a coach. Downtown, this is how much people pay for a coach. And it's very interesting. But we'll kind of go deeper into how to price things later on. But once we kind of structure that and we realize on a realistic number that would make me kind of get me to where I want to be, we start having an idea of what our week should look like, what it should feel like. And then within those hours of working, I want to think about, how much time do I want to spend on marketing? How much time do I want to spend on putting myself out there, right? Versus how much time, because we would all love to just wake up in the morning, have 6-7 clients a day, and then enjoy the rest of our day, not have to do anything for it. That doesn't necessarily happen. There needs to be other work around it in order to get to those clients on a consistent basis. And so how much time do we want to invest in that? And those questions are important to ask, similar to coaching, right? My belief system around coaching is that it's designed to help us get a deeper understanding of who we are in order for us to make choices, not in order for us to change ourselves, not in order to fix our problems, but in order so we can make informed decisions over our lives, in order to get a sense of autonomy over our lives, which you cannot do unless you understand yourself fully. And so once we start understanding who I am as a professional, who I am, and what are my goals as a business, then I can start making informed choices and to start create autonomy over this business that I'm going to build. Because when we don't do that, what tends to happen is we're going to fall into the trap, into the cousin and the uncle and the person that knows better, and your friend's husband who gives you advice and says, you should do that. You should really get on this. Oh, you should do that. Oh, this really works for my friend. You should do that. And then you fall into all those traps, into all the shoulds and shoulds and shoulds and shoulds. And it feeds into all those negative beliefs that we have about ourselves, that we're not good enough. We're not, we're never going to make it. All those kind of horrible, horrible thoughts that we all kind of hold within ourselves. And it becomes this kind of trap. It kind of creates this anticipation or this expectation for failure, which I want to move away from as much as I can. And so when I think about structuring or designing a business, I want to really pay attention to what I call the human component. And that's kind of what I was building towards here with everything I just said, is that human component. Because when we look at a business is designed to grow. A business is designed to succeed, to grow, to build itself. That's not necessarily what a human is always designed to do, right? To make more and more and more and more and do more and more and more and more. There's got to be a place where we feel like it is enough. But unless we've defined what our goals are, we will never get to a point where we're done. Where, okay, I'm done for what I need to make this week or for what I need to make this month. Oh, I have enough clients for the month. I can relax. And unless we know those limits, unless we create those tiers for ourselves, we're setting ourselves for a situation where we're constantly moving the bar. So I want to create that compass, what I call marker to measure a drift, right? We want to create some sort of marker so we know how far away I'm from that marker. It does not mean that we're going to always have to hit that marker, but it's going to guide us. So then when we have decisions, when we have to make choices, it's going to help us decide, should I do this or should I do that? Okay, which choice is going to bring me closer to that marker? So once we start answering those initial questions, that kind of self-realization, self-understanding over how much money do I want to make? What do I want my week to look like? How much hours a day am I aspiring to work? Then we can start thinking, how do I want to build towards making X amount per hour? How do I get to, okay, I actually only need 20 clients a week, 20 clients a month, 20 clients a year. So after we start understanding that, then it becomes more realistic. Then we can actually start strategizing. How do I go about finding those 20 clients? But unless we define that, we're just going to spread all of our energy everywhere and go, okay, then I'm going to need as much client as I can, as much as possible. And the thing is, unless you're going to tell me you're going to launch the next Coca-Cola, the next Amazon, the next big multi-billion-dollar brand, I think they're even more than billion, then I would say let's make choices before we try to go for everybody. Because when I want to be smart at what am I spending, spending doesn't just mean money. It means your energy. It means your time away from your loved ones. It means your anxiety levels. That is part of our spending. So I want to make sure that you are spending it correctly and that we're not actually trying to put $1. If I give $1 to 1 million people, it's not going to make any change in their lives. If I spend $1 million to 100 people, now we're starting to make some change. If I spread $1 million to 4 people, now we're starting to make some bigger change. 2 people, even better. And so I want to think about, where am I putting my money? Where am I putting my energy? Because if I'm trying to do Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and I'm going to be on TikTok, and I'm going to do seminars, and I'm going to take classes, and I'm going to talk to people, you're giving too much away, and you're not making enough of an impact in all of those different things. And again, unless you have a team behind you, and the problem is we are comparing ourselves to brands and professionals who have teams. So you go, okay, then I should be able to do this. Oh, my Instagram should look like this. So I could be able to do all of the things that you probably could, but just because you could doesn't mean you should. And because we want to be careful and we want to preserve your energy to have a long sustaining business. Okay. And so all of that is what I call the human component versus the business, which is we need to learn to identify what is good for the business and what is good for the human, the person. Because when you are a freelancer, you are the business, right? So if you're sick, the business is sick. If you're stressed, the business is stressed. If you're anxious, the business is anxious. And so how do we preserve and take care of our business is very, very important here. And like I said, you are the business, so we have to make sure we're taking care of you. So I just want to make sure that perfect, the human component. I'm going to give you an example. I had a client who teaches classes, and she teaches these courses. She's actually a licensed psychiatrist, and she teaches courses for the everyday people. She has taught for years in universities, and now she teaches just like everyday people about like human psychology and all these kind of communication skills, all those different things. She launched her business. It became successful. And then we started repeating it and repeating it and repeating it. And what she kind of lost steam throughout the process. And what we found out is that the anxiety and the stress around constantly having to get new students or new clients to sign up for the next course and the next course and the next course was draining her, because she spent most of her time coming up with advertisement for the course, with pushing it, with emailing people who were interested in signing up for the course and following up with them and making sure and creating all those different kind of, what I call avenues of merchants, but we'll talk about that in a second. So creating all those systems where people can actually purchase the course from her and sign up for it and understand how it goes. And that repetitive need to always get more clients and more clients was draining her. And so we had to stop for a second, really analyze what is the part in her day that makes her feel most drained, and what is the part in her day that makes her feel most passionate. And we actually realized that, of course, she loves the teaching and the program and the interaction with the client, but it's that endless need to constantly advertise herself that really gave her anxiety. And so we actually shifted the product, and we changed it from 4 or 5 different courses a year to one yearly program. And when we did that, it means she is selling herself once a year. So there's once a year where we're gearing up, we're doing all those promotions, we're creating that content, we're getting everybody to sign up. And then once they sign up for a whole year. And so then we shifted the amount of time that she actually needs to do that thing she doesn't like doing, right? And then she had 11 months out of the year where she doesn't have to worry about who's signing up, how many people are signed up, because she already has that. Or how many people are going to show up for the next class, again, because she already has that. And so sometimes even with an existing business, we want to look at that and to look at that human component and then shift the business around that. And it's the same business, it's just structured differently. So let's talk about, how do we design a business? Anybody has a question about anything we talked about so far, or any insight they want to share before I jump into the other part of this? Okay. I think, thinking about what part of the business do we want, and do we need to build it all from the ground up ourselves, or do we just want this one piece? And maybe that house that we're craving already exists, and we can just fit ourselves into somebody else's house. And that's okay. And that's amazing. And so really kind of questioning that, because not necessarily does that mean that if you want to be an actor, you have to write a play and produce a play and direct a play and then act in it. You might just audition for somebody else's play, and that's okay too. I want to just address Laura's question in the chat. Yelp research. I wish it offered average hourly rates for certified coaches. Since it's an underrated industry, I wonder how many of those. Some people. True. We can't tell the difference, but what we can tell is what are people paying? What's an average for what are people paying? And so we, as the coaches, know that if we're certified, we're probably worth more than those who are not. The consumer does not. So right now, I'm not saying whatever people are charging, that's your value, but it just gives you a realistic understanding. That's what the majority of people are used to or will hear from, what majority of answers people will get from other coaches around you. I would highly, every time you're like, okay, how do I get to customers? I need to find customers who are looking for X, Y, and Z. Pretend to be a customer. Go online and pretend to look for X, Y, and Z. See what happens. Go, what are the first things that you do? Ask your friends, hey, I'm looking for a coach. Do you know where I can find one? See what they tell you. Go on Google, say, Google coaches, wherever you live. See what shows up. And so trying to come at it from the customer's perspective is normally, I think, the best way to find, okay, this is how I would go about finding clients. I highly recommend to then reach out to those types of clients, because clients that are doing that same thinking as you are going to be also clients that are going to be very valuable to you. And in a second, I'll explain why. Let's go into designing the business. So after we've done that soul searching, whether with a professional or on our own, where we actually kind of explore, what do we want? How do we want it? How do we want our day to look like? We start want to think about, okay, so now how do I build a business around that? Which goes to my philosophy about coaching, which is we're not going to change you to fit your life. We're going to change your life to fit you, right? And so I don't need to change. I'm a functioning, working human being. I have gifts and qualities and things that probably I would want to change, but I can't. So how do I work with what I have? And so the same thing, I want to build a business around my strengths and my abilities. So the first thing I want to do is identify a target audience. Now, there are two types of target audiences. So those who have heard me speak before, I speak a lot about target audiences. I'll do it fast today because I don't want to get into all the tiny details. I want to get into the bigger picture. But target audiences, you have your kind of ultimate goal of a target audience. And I find that when I speak to people who are starting their businesses and I say, what's your target audience? They'll say, well, everybody. I feel like everybody could use a coach, or everybody could benefit from working with this or doing this. And it's true. But I want to look at who would benefit most from working with you, and not anybody else on this panel, right? Not any of those beautiful faces that you see around you if you have the correct view setting as I have on your Zoom. And so I want to think about really who would most benefit from working with me. And that's going to change a little bit. Who would I say, you should really work with me and not with Tony or Nikki or Laura? Okay. And so that's what I want to start thinking about. Would those people would most benefit from me? From that group, I break it down to who out of those people have the awareness that they require my services or services like mine. If I'm going to go into a business where I need to educate people that they need my product, that's a very expensive. When I say expensive, remember, I don't mean money. I mean energy, anxiety, time, right? That's a very expensive endeavor. And so having to teach a consumer how to use a new product is very, very difficult. For those of us who are coaches, which I'm assuming a lot of you guys are, it's difficult. Not everybody understands what coaching is. They understand what therapy is. They understand what a dog trainer does. They understand what a health trainer is, a doctor is. What a coach does really is a little murky. We haven't had as many clear examples on TV and film in order for all of us to know, oh, I'm going to lay on a couch and talk about my mother. Okay. And so there's expectations that come with a profession. Here, people don't necessarily fully understand what you do. So you want to start thinking about out of the people that would most benefit from working with you, you want to think about who out of that group has the greatest awareness or closest to needing or hiring somebody like you. Out of that group, I want to go into access. Who from that group already or has access to you, or you have access to them? Some sort of point of access. Oh, my sister's a nurse. She knows all these nurses. Okay, great. That's an access point. Oh, I teach at a school where everybody is X, Y, and Z. That's an access point. I have a background in the military. That's an access point. Okay. And so we want to start thinking about what are communities or pockets of people that we have access to. Okay. I belong to a mom group. I belong to whatever. And so you want to start thinking about that, because that access could be a really, really big part of how we define our target audience. And out of those people that would benefit most, would have the awareness, right, that we have access to, I want to think about budget. Who can afford our services, especially after we have created our target, what our hourly goal should be, what we're striving towards. I see somebody put in something in the chat. This is a good question that you're asking. Can we have them? Yes, I'm going to share that all of you guys with you guys at the end. Don't worry about it. The 4 elements of how to find a target audience, I promise. So, thank you. But so those are my quick tips. It goes deeper into that of how to identify your initial target audience. I have a whole thing about that, but I don't want to dive too deep into that because I want to make sure that we get that kind of whole picture today. But that is what I call your initial target audience, right? Your startup target audience. So the people who I would start a business with is not necessarily who I'm going to design the business towards at the end. I'm going to launch it with people that I have access to already, people that have the awareness, people that can afford me. But then once I grow and grow and grow, I can build and expand my target audience. And with every new product that I create, product can be, I'm going to do workshops now. I'm going to do a yearly program versus a monthly program, whatever that is. Then I can launch and create a new target audience for that. But at the beginning, unless you tell me I have billions of dollars to invest into this business and I don't need to see a return of investment soon, and that's okay too. If you do, call me. Okay. But unless you tell me that is the situation, I want to make sure you get a return on your investment faster. So you can sustain, so you can continue to reinvest into your business. And that is very, very crucial. A lot of businesses are brilliant, but unless they found a way to continuously raise money at the beginning before they got to that point when they now can start being profitable, all these big multi-billion-dollar brands that were launched in the past couple of years did not make a profit for their first X amount of years. And that's how they get it. That's a whole strategy. For that, you need investors and all those different things. We are not in that place. And so I want to make sure that you first, true, you're not going to get to that goal that we wanted, that thing that we created first, right? But you're going to be enough to sustain the business and to reinvest into the business so we can grow to get there. We're not going to go from 0 to $200,000 a year, right? And so we want to make sure that we're taking the steps to get there. So this is those 4 steps that I talked to you about, which is benefit awareness, benefit awareness. What's my 4th? Access and budget. Access. I always forget access. Access and budget. If we go through those 4 steps, that leads us to that initial first target audience we want to engage with. Now, when we look at a target audience, I think it's important to understand that when you start or launch a business, you should engage your network. And we sometimes, and I can feel some of you have that kind of ick feeling in your stomach, maybe, when you say, oh, I have to engage with my network or try to sell to my people, whatever. It's like, no, I want to sell to these strangers online, to these people who don't know me. Okay. Not to my family who doesn't believe I can do it, or who is like, would pity me, or would do all those different, like, no, I want to go for the strangers that I've never met before. Great. That is $1 billion operation, right? I'm kidding. It's clearly not $1 billion, but it's expensive in, again, time, energy, anxiety, all those different things. And so I want us to understand that to start and to launch a business, it is important to identify what environments am I already in? What circles am I already in? And how can I tap into those? Because when we start jumping into a marketing strategy, the first question I will ask any client that I have, or any person that I know that is launching a business, when they're talking about a market strategy, I first would ask you is, does everybody in your life know that you do what you do? And I mean, your mother's friends from college, your cousins and second cousins, husband's ex-boyfriend. Okay? Everybody in your life needs to know that you do this thing. Now, unless the people immediate around you, okay, know that you're doing this thing, what's the point in starting to market it online? Starting to put it out there. I want to make sure that everybody in your community, in your family, in your network knows what you do. So first, let's find that. Now, the problem is when we move from being our fabulous selves to being professionals, sometimes for our environment, it's hard to take in. It's hard to accept. Or more than that, sometimes it's hard for us to accept. To now start attaching monetary value to what we do. Because guess what? We've probably been doing it forever. And you've been you for your entire life. And so you don't notice your skill sets. You don't notice your gifts because they are given to you. You've done that forever. You've done it for free forever in different ways. And so starting to now attribute value to something that you just do with your friends, you just do with people you're naturally good at, can be scary. And so you need to understand that what you do is going to be hard for you to define. Let's let other people define that. Trust me, they'll do it whether you want it or not. But so I want to start thinking and identifying and separating them. And so that some of the means to separate that are sometimes materialistic, are sometimes as easy as getting a business card, as getting a website up, as, you know, hiring an office, whatever it is within our budget, right? Within our kind of financial limitations. But something to make it feel different now, right? And a website is easy. Website is, I mean, I don't want to say easy. For a lot of people, it's very stressful, but it's not as expensive today to launch a website as it used to be when the internet first came up, right? And so putting something up that shows your friends and family and everybody that's around you that this is what I do professionally now is important just for you sometimes as it is for them to be able to understand, oh, they're serious about this. They're doing this thing. How do I share this with others? Because I want to make sure that when your mother talks to her friend in the grocery store and says, yes, my child is doing X, Y, and Z, and she should, okay, she has somewhere to send them to. And so that's a very key, important part before we even start talking about a marketing strategy, is thinking about, does everybody in our life know what it is? Now, when I then create a marketing strategy, I want to make sure that I'm relying on my communication strength. And that's key here. Again, on instinct, those of us who are very smart, those of us who are very capable, we can probably do more than one thing. And so we realize what's the smartest thing to do, and then we teach ourselves how to do it. And we spend hours on some sort of design program to trying to make cute little logos or different things. And we're putting all of our energy and all of our time into something that has nothing to do. You're now trapping yourself in that kitchen making dog treats when really what you want to do is spend quality time with pets. And so thinking about, where do I want to spend that energy and that time and that creativity? Now, if you're passionate about it and you love it, go for it. Enjoy. But for a lot of us, that can be very, very, very stressful. Also, I would add that whatever you launch at the beginning is going to be so different than where you're going to end up with, that I would actually deter you from spending a lot of money and time and energy on your first draft of a website, of a business, of a thing, because it will change. Put something out there, it will shift towards, if you saw my first coaching website versus what I have now, it's so different. It had trees everywhere. There were just trees everywhere, trees. There's not one tree on my website now, or to go back and double check that, but I don't think there's a tree on my website now. Anyway, all that is to say is that we want to rely on our communication strength. Communication strength for us can be writing, can be talking, can be one-on-one, can be one in front of a group, can be online versus in person. We want to realize, where do we shine? Where is it easy? Where is it natural? Now, okay, let me actually, I'm going to make a little star so I don't forget this point, but I don't want to get there yet. I want to design everything that I do around that strength. If you're a great talker, on your website, let's put a video of you talking. If you're a great talker, that's what I want you to put out there. My communication strength is talking. I'm English as a second language. I'm dyslexic. Writing, I can do it. It takes a lot of energy from me. I can do it. I'm actually writing a book right now, but it takes so much energy out of me. But my communication strength becomes easier for me is talking. My business cards are designed to have different sayings on the back of every card. Therefore, when I talk to people and when people ask for a card, I immediately pull up a couple of them, and each of them has a different saying on the back of the card. And I say, which saying do you want? And I offer them this and this and that. And then they pick one. And then we start having a conversation about why they chose stop limiting yourself versus they chose go do things that inspire you, right? It leads, everything I do is designed to start up a conversation with a person. It's designed into every element of everything, of every business that I own, every element that I do. And so, trust me, I own a lot of businesses, I wish. And so I want to identify what your communication strength is. For me to spend all my time into constantly creating copy to put out on Instagram and to be able to, put out articles on LinkedIn and all those different things, it's going to take so much energy and time out of me that it defeats the purpose of what I want to do and why I wanted to work for myself and not for somebody else. And so I want to make sure that when you're designing a strategy, it's not just what's going to be the smartest, the strongest, the best idea, but also something, again, that relies on your communication strength. And even if you don't know what your communication strength is, I would say try different ones, see what comes easy, see what comes naturally, what you're passionate about, what you attempted to do one and you ended up doing 7 without even thinking about it. That's where your strength is. Now, I want to be clear, and that's what that little star that I marked before, that easy does not mean not scary. Easy does not mean not stressful. Sometimes some of the things that we're good at and that we're amazing at are still scary to us, are still vulnerable to us, and that's okay. And so I want to make sure that we're not just designing a business or marketing strategy around avoiding anxiety, but we're designing a business strategy around communication strengths. Okay? I'm better at talking. Put me in front of 2 million people to talk right now. I don't know if a word would come out. That scares the hell out of me, right? But I would have to get over it because that's my communication strength. Wouldn't have to. I would want to get over it, right? And so when I'm building or creating a market strategy, I want to rely on that. The last thing I want to add to a marketing strategy is making sure, and this is the long-term thing that I see the main difference between people who start a business. I'm like, okay, I got my first 2 clients. Yay, I got my first 3 clients. Between people who now have a sustained business for years is a lead generator. Lead generator means that we're having some sort of interaction with some sort of organization or space where we're consistently getting leads for potential clients. And building those relationships are crucial in order to sustain a business. Now, a lead generator can be many different things. I'm going to use that same dog trainer as an example. She created a relationship with a shelter where she volunteered. That took time. That took about 6 months of volunteering in that shelter where she came once a day and volunteered there to build those relationships to get to the point where they then every person that adopted a dog from the dog shelter, they gave her card out as their kind of dog trainer that they support. And she also offered them a deal where she gives the first like 30-minute session with her for free for anybody who adopts a dog from the shelter. That is a lead generator, which means she then had to eventually stop that relationship because she got so many leads she couldn't handle it. But that is something that takes a minute to build those relationships, right? I have another client who works at a school who she works with teenagers, but then she doesn't volunteer, they pay her, but she does a program for that school where she does like an after-school program for teens, and she does these activities with them. Through that, those teens and their parents get to know her, and they then hire her to be a private coach for the students. Those are lead generators. Without those consistent involvements programs, I work with writers and artists. I run a writers group. People can join it. They share their art. I give them notes. We talk about things. They get to see what I do. And then guess what? A nice percentage out of my writers groups tends to then come and hire me on an individual basis in order to help them develop their art. And so these are all things that we want to meet, and to build the writers group took me a while. To build a reputation for the writers group took me a while. And so all those things are important to do, and lead generators are the key difference between then staying on that hamster wheel of getting my first client, getting my second client, for not having to put that much effort into every client. And also, I want to make sure that your clients are then getting you more clients. Again, I want you to work less and less for each client. So how do we design into your business strategy for your clients to then either do a referral program or to do, that's a subject in marketing that like I'm obsessed with, like the Victoria's Secret brand was like brilliant at it before they tanked. But the whole problem with Victoria's Secrets is that people didn't know if a woman is wearing a Victoria's Secret bra because it's under her clothes. And so they created the Victoria's Secret umbrella, which was very expensive and fancy. I don't know if you remember, that was like, I want to say it's like 7 years ago. And then every woman who purchased over an X amount got a really expensive, fancy Victoria's Secret umbrella during the winter time. And there was a moment in New York City where everybody was walking around with those pink umbrellas. And what that does is that makes sure that everybody around you knows you're a Victoria's Secret customer. It's brilliant, right? And so how do I make sure that my clients are walking around with a, Tomer Adorian umbrella? Now, I don't mean give them merch because, we're not at the Victoria's Secret level of things, but I want to think about what can I design into doing with my clients that would then involve their communities, everybody around them. And sometimes built into what we do with people. I have a client who works with like really high-end executives, right? And so we've designed it so she can do events for that executive and help them launch something. But then those executives get to know her through those events also because she's part of it. And then that executive also invites all of their network, which is all potential clients to her. So built into her work with her clients is lead generators to continuously get more clients. And so anytime you can get paid for lead generator, that's when I get really happy for you. But more than that, even if you're volunteering for it, it's going to be worth more than paying for Google ads, paying for, whatever, Instagram things, right? And so I want to think about how do I structure that in. So last thing I want to say before I open up to questions and we kind of and I share with you some materials is I want you to think about a business plan. And a business plan sounds scary for those of us who don't have a business degree. But a business plan in the way that I mean it should be a strategy where you get to take each client on some sort of journey, each potential client on some sort of journey. To think that you're just going to talk to a potential client and immediately turn them into a client is great, and it can sometimes happen, but we're going for consistency here. I want to think about what's kind of that transition. So I want to think about the steps that a client can take with me from being interested and wanting to work with me to then hiring me. And so there are different steps and different kind of marketing strategies, give it different names. I use the names of like I'm not going to meet somebody and immediately say, hey, will you marry me? First, I'm going to say, hey, do you want to meet me for coffee? Then I'm going to say, hey, do you want to go see a movie? Do you want to see another movie? Do you want to, move in together? And then probably I'm going to propose. But what we're doing is saying, okay, meet me for 20 minutes. Do you want to propose? Do you want to marry me? That's really uncomfortable for people. They don't know. And so I want you to have something you can invite people to, some sort of free event, monthly gathering, something that you do, a writer's group, something you can say, oh my God, you're a writer, you want to do this? Come in today, okay? Join us. And so you can invite them to this. And so the whole idea is to have something that you can invite them to participate, to spend more time with you. And then from that, they can go on and can continue on. From that, you can then say, okay, everybody that participates in my monthly gathering can get 1 monthly session with me for a reduced price. And then all those different elements in order to build it. I can go into further detail, but I know we don't have that much time today. So I just want to kind of I want you to think about the strategy of how to go from a potential client to a client, and to not just assume that one call with them is going to be that. I want you to have a structure, something that you get through with everybody. So it can kind of continuously get you from point A to point B. Okay, I'm going to stop talking now about all those different things. All I will say is this. If you manage to combine a deeper understanding of who you are and what you want with designing your business and align the two together, magical things can happen. Don't let your perception of what a job should be like, what a career should look like, and setting yourself up either for failure or for, I'm going to have to work as hard as I can because the harder I work, the better it is. Those are perceptions that were kind of handed down to us from, you can call it the patriarchy, you can call it Western culture, you can call it so many different things. But we're not going to name them today. But I'm going to just challenge you to think about whether they're true or not for you, and to really think about how can you design your own business and your life and your career. Because when we work for other people, they have the power. When we work for ourselves, we have the power. And I really believe in people like the people in this room taking the power for themselves and shifting the power dynamics of how our kind of society is structured. So I'll just kind of leave you with that. I promised that I would share the 4 steps, so I'm going to add that in, and I'm going to invite you all. I'm going to stay for a little bit after, so you can kind of ask questions. Feel free to do so. But this will be the end of all of the stuff that I've been talking at you. But I'm going to look up and share the thing. But Laura, I feel like you had a question. I hope your microphone. Oh, no, you just went. Okay, got it. Perfect. Okay, thank you. Well, awesome. So, here's the last thing I will say before you leave. If you want to connect with me, I'm going to put in my website, which is basically tomeradorian.com. And if you want to connect with me, it's going to be hello@tomeradorian.com. So with that, have a beautiful, beautiful day or week or month. And I look forward to hearing from you all. But thank you, Ashley, for the opportunity. And thank you for training EDU.
Thank you, Tomer. Thank you all. Take care. Bye.